Leather straps, belts and leather in general is something I love painting. I want to share with you my recipe and my approach. That's it. That's the video. First of all, you can use any combination of browns for leather depending on the hues you're looking for. This isn't prescriptive, so often I pick a recipe for leather on the fly so that if I'm doing different types or areas of leather on my models, they're all slightly different in hue. I'm painting up the straps here on Rumbelow Sheepskin, this Blood Bowl model from Warhammer. I've gone for Grim Brown, which is a dark base tone, Leather Brown, a reddish brown, Mud Brown, which is a mid-tone with a little bit more yellow, Tan Earth, which is lighter, and Light Earth, which is my lightest tone, almost buff, a beige, a taupe, a cream, if you will, fawn perhaps, a sandy camel tone, a light khaki, neutral, kind of off-white, cafe au lait, desaturated, light yellow, vanilla to a degree. You get the idea. Now, before I started this video, I actually painted the Grim Brown. This is because I wasn't going to film this initially, and then I thought, hold the shit on, I could film this for my channel and share this good knowledge with the people who are probably getting impatient right now waiting for me to just paint the damn thing. So yes, first step was to mix the base colour, which was already on the strap, with the leather brown. This is to avoid too much of a jump in tone or value. I then painted the upwards or lighter areas just to lighten that base tone where the light is coming from. Remember, almost like a glaze, my brushstrokes went from the darkest to the lightest point, so I didn't get pooling in the lower area, ruining that transition. Easy enough. Then I did more or less the same with the pure leather brown, just a little closer to the top of the strap, so there was some of that mix left towards the bottom, and again the transition wasn't too harsh. I'm not putting in texture here yet because I want to make sure the base coats have enough transition from dark to light first, and then we'll build the texture on top of that. Then, like before, we're going to use a roughly 50-50 mix of leather brown with our next colour up, which is mud brown, and this is where we start to add texture with some lines that run roughly perpendicular to the strap direction. At larger scales, when you're painting, you can obviously go to town on the realism, but at this scale, a good rule for these kind of straps is to stick to roughly running the texture across the strap. With every layer, we're just working up, so there's a variation in value from the darkest to the lightest parts of the strap. Next up is our pure mud brown, and we're doing the same again here across the full width of the strap, but you'll see that I'm not making full strokes. They're a little bit more haphazard, let's say. They're just not entirely connected, so I am using the full width of the strap to do these strokes, but ultimately they're kind of a little closer to the edges and maybe less in the middle. This time we're going to skip the 50-50 mix and go straight to Tan Earth. Whether that is on purpose or by accident, I don't know, because I filmed this the other day and I'm editing it now, so I can't remember, but don't worry about it. Instead of lines fully across the strap, we're going to do lines the same direction, but only towards the edges of the strap. So, the right hand side first, brushing towards the outside of the strap. These are a little bit more random, since often leather texture has that randomness about it, and then we'll do the same on the other side. Now, the reason I try to do it this way where I can is so that the thinnest point of the stroke is on the inside of the strap, and any pooling of paint tends to happen towards the edge of the strap. Again, this can be kept quite random, working towards the lighter parts of the strap according to your light source. Next, we'll take another mix between Tan Earth and Light Earth, since I think that value jump is quite big. Better to have a step in between. Doing the same as before, but slightly closer to the edge this time if you can, and a little bit less coverage. I actually get lazy here and try and do both sides from this angle. With a brush this small, it seems to work okay. This is Hawk Miniatures brush size 0, but laziness won't win you any competitions. Lastly, we'll use the pure light earth, and once again we're going to do the same as before, but now you're almost just giving it an edge highlight, brushing it in the same way. So instead of 1 or 2 clean strokes, we're going to do it almost dotted like, and just bring a bit more texture to that edge, like a kind of frayed belt or strap. This is again about bringing in a bit of randomness. You can do the odd longer stroke if you want to add some interest to a particular part, but the key here is probably just not to overdo it. So that's our basic strap done, and what I did, you can see it here, I'll try and show you it from various angles, but what I did after this was go ahead and paint up all the straps on this model in the same way. Absolutely exactly the same principles, same colour recipe, same technique, same adherence to the light source, and so on. One thing I felt was, when I was looking at this, a couple of parts were a touch on the light side, and I wanted a little bit more difference between the edges and the inner parts of the straps. So here you can see I mix up sort of a light wash, or maybe more of a glaze consistency of that initial grim brown base colour, and then I'm using that to just knock back some of the parts of the straps, where they're typically down the centre of the strap or just in the darkest areas, just to kind of dull and unify a little bit some of the colours there. You can actually do other things at this point, like adding some washes or speed paint to the straps to tint them or colour them in different tones, or you can add reflections to various parts by glazing in the base colour into the lower areas and all that sort of stuff. If you want the leather to look more reflective. I was pretty happy with how this turned out though, and this is going to be one of my competition pieces this year. Anyway, that is us for now. Hopefully this has been a handy reference for leather straps at this scale. Don't hesitate to reach out, comment, subscribe for free, join the Discord, or message me if you have any questions, tips, or you want me to take a look at what you've been working on. Until next time, bye bye.